When we talk about World War II, we remember tanks, air raids, codebreakers, and the massive industrial effort that powered the Allied victory. But behind the battles was a quieter, grittier struggle, feeding millions of soldiers across continents. Food shortages, rationing, and desperate improvisation led to recipes so strange and resourceful that most people today have no idea they existed. Yet these forgotten wartime meals weren't just survival tricks, they reveal how soldiers lived, suffered, adapted, and ate their way through the harshest conditions imaginable. And in 2025, when people revisit these recipes, they're shocked by how effective, efficient, and sometimes surprisingly tasty they still are. Here are 7 forgotten World War II foods that kept troops going, and why they unexpectedly still matter today. Trench stew, or battalion stew, was the universal fallback dish when nothing else was available. Soldiers tossed in scraps of beef or pork, potatoes, carrots, onions, stale bread, powdered stock, and sometimes even canned fish. Troops cooked it in helmets, mess tins, or any metal container they could put over a flame. The taste depended entirely on ingredients available, so one day it might be a rich beef soup, and the next it tasted like watery cabbage. So, in 2025, survivalists are still recreating trench stew because, well, it just works with literally anything you have on hand. Back then, fresh eggs were almost impossible to transport safely, so soldiers relied on powdered eggs, dried, yellowish flakes that came in cans. When you mixed them with water, they turned into this soft paste that could be fried into flat yellow egg cakes, scrambled, baked into bread, or, even mixed into potatoes for extra calories. Taste-wise, powdered eggs were rubbery and just a bit sulfuric, but honestly, troops on the front loved them because they reminded them of home. These days, hikers and preppers still use modern versions of powdered eggs. They last for decades and, honestly, cook up really fast. The United States military famously invented the D-ration chocolate bar, a dense slab made of cocoa, oats, sugar, vitamins, and cocoa fat. It was, intentionally made barely edible so soldiers wouldn't eat it unless they were really starving. The taste, bitter, chalky, and dry. Honestly, it was more like compressed cocoa sand than actual chocolate. But just one bar packed somewhere between 600 and 900 calories, and it wouldn't melt in desert heat, freeze in the Arctic, or spoil at sea. In 2025, people still buy military-style survival chocolate for their emergency kits. Spam wasn't just a food. It was a weapon of logistics. The Allies shipped millions of cans worldwide. Soldiers ate spam fried with onions, spam and potatoes, spam stew, spam sandwiches, spam mashed into rice, and spam grilled on sticks over a fire. Taste-wise, it was salty, fatty, and oddly comforting. Some troops got sick of it, but others swore it tasted like victory. Modern food historians argue spam literally helped win the war by feeding hungry troops faster than traditional meat supplies ever could. German soldiers carried Kommissbrot, a dense rye-based bread packed with rye flour, whole grains, sourdough starter, molasses, and sometimes potato starch. It was incredibly heavy, dark, and slightly sour, but designed to last for weeks without spoiling. German troops paired it with cheese, tinned meat, sausage, mustard, and dried fruits. It delivered steady energy and stayed mold-free, thanks to the rye acidity. In 2025, artisan bakers have rediscovered it as a nutrient-rich, long-lasting bread, perfect for off-grid living. Macon was a British ration similar to canned bacon. Troops, especially in North Africa and the Pacific, relied on it because ordinary bacon spoiled quickly in tropical heat. So, canned macon tasted, well, smoky, salty, and just a bit rubbery, but it was also extremely fatty. It could be fried into crisp strips, chopped into stews, or stuffed into sandwiches. Soldiers often used the leftover grease to cook vegetables or even fry bread. In 2025, preppers really love canned meats again. mainly because they stay edible for years, and honestly, they don't need any refrigeration. This underrated ration was a United States and Commonwealth wartime staple, basically bulgur wheat mixed with dried vegetables and powdered bouillon. It tasted like a grainy, savory porridge and, it cooked up in just a few minutes. Soldiers really valued wheat bully for a bunch of reasons. First off, it was high in carbohydrates, which gave them the energy they needed. It was also easy to digest, making it, a practical choice out in the field. Plus, it was light to carry and non-perishable, so it could last a long time without spoiling. One tin could even feed an entire squad, which was pretty impressive. Some troops would even add spam, powdered milk, or tinned fish to upgrade their meal. So, in 2025, bulgur is back in health foods, survival kits, and those long-distance camping meals, just as efficient as it was way back in the 1940s. Today's world is pretty much obsessed with fast food, convenience, and all those high-tech meal kits, but honestly, World War II's secret recipes remind us of something incredibly valuable. Food doesn't need to be fancy to keep you alive. These meals survived because they were simple, durable, calorie-dense, easy to cook just about anywhere, resistant to spoilage, and adaptable to whatever ingredients existed. In emergencies, disasters, or off-grid situations, these forgotten recipes still, outperform a lot of modern foods. They fed armies fighting across deserts, jungles, mountains, and frozen tundras, and in a world that's feeling more uncertain every day, their practicality feels, surprisingly modern again.